we're going to talk about today, because that's what archetypal symbolism is. Okay, what?
I was just gonna say, I think a huge part of that angst that the kids feel, at least ours, when she got here, was this, I don't really know who I am.
Yeah.
And there's so many opportunities, so many different ways for them to explore who they are.
Right.
And if you know who you are, then when you need somebody, because you're sad or you're lonely or you need comfort and you know who you are, then you can also go to yourself.
Right.
And so it's been pretty powerful.
And just those cards, the way it uses symbolism and pictures and colors to connect people in situations with things, right? Suddenly there was a group of people sitting there watching your entire life play out in front, all right? And what's great is that it's like a snapshot of where things are. So if you get a reading that you don't like, you can change it because you're taking a look at it. Now, the roots of archetypal symbolism are essentially symbols that we all agree on, even if we've never met. That's like the layman's way of saying it, is that these are images that we have all held. For example, what does a warrior hold in his hand? Okay, in one hand there's a sword, in one hand there's a shield. Okay, what color is the wizard's robe?
Blue.
Listen to what you just did. How did you know that that was a color? When you Google on Facebook, colored picture of a wizard, number one color is blue, number two is purple, and there's some green mixed in there. Why are those the colors we go to? Why is it that the Catholic Church burns this color candle at Christmas Mass and this color candle at Easter Mass? Why does the color of the candle matter? Why is it that it's a sword and not a spear? And what if it's an axe? How does that change the warrior's behavior? Okay, what is it about a big battle axe, about that warrior, that's different than a warrior with a sword and a shield in your own mind? What's the difference?
Sexy.
Badass.
Sexy, badass, right? We have suddenly a virility and a strength that's not represented by the shield. That's universal symbolism. Every culture has a Bigfoot. Every culture has a great flood. Every culture has dragons. Every culture has pyramids. Why? Why do we hold these symbols? Okay, I began studying this information when I was working at a little kids camp in Boulder, Colorado called Renaissance Adventures. Still runs to this day, one of my most favorite experiences in life. And I was working for Mark Hogue as I went through my transition from sobriety, from drug use to sobriety. And he was an amazing man to be an elder and a guide through that experience. I have a deep love for this man. He was running a business where children were coming to camp, and he's going to hate that I say this, but this is a way to explain it. It was live action Dungeons and Dragons, okay? Foam swords, foam daggers, foam battle axes. Kids would have little character cards that talked about all their equipment and their weapons and their magic and their money. And as a quest leader, as the adult, you would have 5 to 6 kids, and you would hike around the foothills of Boulder on these paths, telling the kids a story, and they would portray the heroes of every story. And each week there was a new story. You can imagine how addictive that was for kids, how much exercise they were getting, because we're hiking all day long, and then every time it's time to take a break, there's a battle. And so you're physically exerting, and the quest leader, you're battling 6 kids in the park with foam, and people who hike in that parks, they loved watching it.
Of course, yeah.
And it was this big interactive storytelling experience. One year, and this was a couple years after I'd gotten sober, one year I've become the trainer of all these quest leaders, of all the adults. And one kid, Ian, and he and I stay connected on Facebook. Ian had a little kid in his group that every time the battle started, he would go run into the woods. Now, when you have 5 kids who are ready to play and one kid who throws his foam sword down and runs into the woods, and you're responsible for all of them, how do you make that choice? Do you choose the many over the one or the one over the many? Because if I go running after this one, I've abandoned 5, but if I stay with the 5, mom's gonna be pretty pissed the kid became mountain lion poop. So it was tough. And then what got worse is that every day at lunch, we would all meet in a different park. All the kids would quickly gobble up their food. They would divide into 2 teams and have a mass battle in the park. And they called it mass battle every day. They would have a big battle. There would be 40 kids on this side and 30 kids, or even up in there, and this kid would go fetal. Like he would literally hit the ground and go into fight, flight, freeze, faint. okay? And we had no clue what to do. This is not a therapeutic camp. This is an adventure camp, Renaissance adventures. We were not therapists. We were superhero geeks and Dungeons and Dragons geeks, and we were playing this amazing game. Kids learn to reading the rule book of this game, of this summer camp. Like, that's how potent it was. And this kid's feet on the ground. We had no clue what to do. So Ian and I are hanging out after work, and a couple of the quest leaders are finishing up their after work stuff. This kid signed up for the whole summer. This is week 2 of the summer. He's there for the duration. And we're like, wait, what do we do? Do we bring in an intern? Do we bring in an extra counselor? You know, how do we navigate this experience? And I pick up his character card and I look at it, and his character is a mystic seer healer. Now, a mystic seer is part of the wizard archetype that can see the past and see the future. Okay, and that's their power. So before the warrior kicks in the door, the mystic seer can cast a spell and see what would happen if the warrior kicked in the door. If the kids don't remember something that they heard in the riddle that the orcs told them about the dragon, the mystic seer can cast a spell and pull the riddle from the past. Okay, it's a cool power. And then his other character side was that he was a healer. And so I made an offhanded comment. Well, no wonder he runs when the swords come out. He's a mystic seer, so he sees where battle goes. And he's a healer. All he wants to do is heal people. And everybody was like, yeah, that's cool. It didn't answer anything. It answered everything for me. It's like that was the thunderbolt moment that I was like, they're not playing. It's not a game. We're playing. We're the adults. They're showing us who they really are. He's trying to say, this hurts me. Fighting hurts me. I'm here to heal. I can see the past. I can see the future. And I'm here to heal the present. And I was sold. I was hook, line, and sinker. I got it. So the next day, battle comes up, the big mass battle at lunch, and Ian's had a bad morning. I walk up to the kid, and you can see he's standing there, and he's watching kids choose sides, right? And I can see him start to tense and collapse. And I walk up to him, and I go, healers don't have to pick a side. Did you know that? Like, you don't have to choose this side versus that side, because no one thinks they're the bad guy. Everybody's just fighting for what they believe in. And you can heal that. And I said, and healers don't have a limit to their power. So, because you're connected to something bigger than what's happening in this battle. So your power is limitless as a healer. Now, I had purposefully changed my language, not your character. And your character has this, and this guy you're playing, I was like, you have limitless power, and you don't have to pick a side. And I say to both groups, I was like, he is the healer for both sides. He has infinite power. Does everybody understand? And they were like, yes, right? And this kid, so I say, battle, and 2 foam armies clash, right? And this kid who was fetal the day before is walking through the chaos like this. Right? And he's discovered, his power is realized. And I was like, that's it. And so I went to Mark and I was like, so here's the disservice we're doing the kids. They're every day at camp, they're saving the world, but then they have to go back to real life. You have to show them how to transition with the power they're playing here to the power they have in real life. Mark agreed with the concept, he agreed with the idea, but he wasn't going to diversify his business. And that's smart business, right? He found his niche, he's going to stick there. But through his company, he let me start doing camps where we started to teach the kids the reality of it. We started a camp called Scout Camp. All right, and Scout Camp was about how to be this warrior, ranger. We showed outdoor survival, and we had ping pong ball crossbow battles, just like a paintball fight, right? And we had 4 kids, and it was fun. One of those kids became the artist of the pictures that are in your book about these archetypes. And he and I still work together and talk together. So it's right in front of these on this page here, these pictures. Now I have the full size of these pictures, which are about this tall, and I'll be lecturing in Helsinki about all these pictures, about archetypal psychology. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the 4 prime archetypes that came up, okay? I started analyzing this and looking at this and developing this. And what I came up with is that there's 4 main kinds of people. So Find the big blue diamond, right, that looks just like this. 24. Page 24. Those of you watching at home, you can draw this on a piece of paper. It's called the big blue diamond. In the center, on the far left, we start with the warrior. The warrior's on the far left. Next to that is the bard. We're going to stop there because some of you are going, what's a bard? The bard is the singer, the songwriter, the dancer, the poet, the director, the makeup artist. All right, this is the emotional expressive. This is William Shakespeare, who communicated so much wisdom through art, through emotion. It's why we don't know what it is about the Mona Lisa, but a bard painted it. The next one is the wizard, which we studied the wizard parenting playbook. That's the thinker, right? That's the evolver of reality. That's the changer of now. These are the highly, highly intelligent people among us. And we'll go through the pros and cons of all the archetypes. And then, of course, we have the jester. The jester, the fun-loving, it's fun or it's not fun, and we got to keep it fun. It doesn't matter whether they're living in a car or life is simple. It's simple life. It's fun. They're the jokester. They're the playful one. Now,
are they also the fool?
Yes, they are the fool, the divine fool, and the person who is just acting foolish. Okay, and we'll break that down more as we get into it. Over on the side, up on the side of it, understand that that middle row is neutral. Also understand that there is no hierarchy among them. This means, neutral means there's some good and there's some evil. There's some sacred and there's some profane. The line above it is going to be our sacred line. Sacred line means if you stick with one archetype and truly develop it over time. Let's go for an example using the warrior. Someone who's a warrior has found something or is looking for something to live for, to die for, to kill for, something that matters in their life that much that they would die for it. And once they find it, their life has pure meaning. When they don't find it, there's a lot of pain. The pain lives here in the neutral, okay? And you'll see in the picture, when we look at the warrior picture, what pain on a warrior's face looks like. It's not from the wound on his arm. It's from the empty coat of arms above him, that he has not found purpose. But he has this passion. He has this energy. He has this desire to live for something, that his life should mean something. And maybe they find it. Maybe it's protecting whales from whaling ships. And so they end up in a little raft in the ocean in front of a gigantic whaling ship. Maybe she climbs a tree and lives there for a year so that loggers don't cut it down. Do you remember Butterfly? Do you remember her? She lived in a tree for a year to keep grandfather alive. Right? That's a warrior's life. A warrior is a teacher who says these children must be taught. Well, there's not much pain in it. That doesn't matter. What matters is we do the right thing. Okay? Well, if they stay on that path and they train it, and they train it, and they train it, their code gets so developed that they become the knight. Now, this is someone with a code, like a samurai. The Bushido is the code of the samurai, the chivalric code, right? Their life becomes service to something greater than themselves, and they will live and die for it without question. The king, God, the queen, the goddess, the code itself for innocence. And they develop, you have these 9, these 10, these 33 principles that you live and die by. You don't question them. That's the knight. Now, on the worst side of that is the profane. This is when life is headed into the darkness. And the profane side of the warrior is that wounded warrior who's been betrayed, hurt, their village has been burnt down. Their parents were murdered in front of their eyes, and their entire life is about revenge. And they will burn the world because the world burned them. That is the barbarian. There are very few heroes. the berserkers in Viking mythology. In none of the sagas is a berserker one of the heroes. Despite the fact that they might be the best fighters, they are destroying everything in their path. They will destroy themselves. They will die by this. And even Conan, who was the barbarian, he was an anti-hero. It was redemption that made us love him.
Oh, I adore him.
Okay, but it was his redemption. It wasn't his brutality that we loved. It was the fact that he redeemed himself. And that's the path of the anti-hero. Now the bard, this poet, this songwriter, this playwright, this actress, this actor, which is what I'm doing for you now to keep you communicated with this information. I'm using the bard energy to keep you involved in what I'm teaching. Because if I was using the wizard, I would be teaching like this. Next slide.
Bueller.
Exactly, right? And that may be brilliant. It may be perfectly right, but it's the bard who's going to say, and this, and then here, right? And that's the bard. Now, the sacred side of the bard is the druid. The druid.
What that?
The druid are the shaman from the Celtic mythologies.
Okay.
Remember, they were the high priests and priestesses. They communicated wisdom through song and stories. It wasn't that they were going to teach you about what is right and wrong. They were going to tell you a story about the golden salmon. There were legends that the druids would walk into two armies about to battle and sing to them, and they would pack up and go home. The druids were the advisors to the chieftains and the chiefess of the clans. They were the medicine men and women. They were the most intelligent among us with the wisdom of the earth. So they were shaman, but not shaman like our Native American. They were the white shaman. They were the Viki or the Gothi or the Githia in Nordic mythology. They were the magic people, and it was all music. Everything was taught through sound, through dance, through poetry. Yes. Very much so, because they were also the ones you would go see if you were sick or lovesick. All right. And then, of course, there was the Wicca. The Wicca were like the Druid were the political religious class. The Wicca were the private practitioners of the Druid. Okay. So their magic is the same.
Okay.
All right. And you'll see in a lot of the spells of Wicca, it rhymes.
I was looking at that.
Yes. Okay. So it's an offshoot. Now, understand this. I want to give you a little sidebar. The Druids never wrote anything down, and when they did develop a language, it was called Ogham. And it's lines, almost like runes, but they look more like musical notes. St. Patrick burnt their books. The only Druids that wrote things down were the Irish Druids. And when St. Patrick chased the snakes out of Ireland, that was actually the genocide of the Druids and the people who still followed them. So I don't celebrate that holiday. Okay, so sorry to take away St. Patrick's Day from you guys, but that's actually celebrating a genocidal maniac. Okay, just my political opinion. All right, because the Irish Druids were the only one who said we need to write this stuff down before we lose it. Patrick took care of it.
I have one of my tattoos is on my back, and it's a Celtic Trinity knot.
Yes.
And so
that's a Druidic symbolism.
That's so
yes.
cool.
Okay.
And I'm a dancer.
Oh no, you're oh boy. Okay, so now following the profane path, when that emotional experience that the bard is going through, when it goes into the darkness, when the wounds are so deep that they can't heal and it actually kills them inside, that they die inside. But still, their only way to communicate and connect is through emotional experience. It must be in a very heightened emotional experience that they can actually feed on. So the symbolism, the archetype, is the vampire. Let's think about the vampire for a second, because we all know the concept of the psychic vampire, the one who feeds upon your emotional energy. Well, life force energy is blood. All right, and that's what the vampire sucks. But a vampire in this reality, these are people who have lost themselves so much that they can't even see themselves anymore, right? The bards, they wear makeup and costume and they say other people's words. And you can get lost in that. You can get lost in presenting someone else's emotional experience. And when we start to understand the bard archetype, if your children are bards, if you are bards, your life is spent giving the gifts of emotional wellness and experience to others, and it drains you so much that if you were to drain yourself of that much blood, what color would your skin turn?
Why?
So the only way for you to survive is to survive on the emotional experience of others. And they can only survive on you. And that's how a vampire gets its minions. And their whole life is living in the shadows and the darkness. They can't step into the light and live in this world. And everything is very psychosexual and dramatic, right? And that's where all the dark colors and the theatrics of the whole goth and the vamp movement came from, is that they could really feel things in there because they were deeply connected to other people. And it's not healthy. And in fact, if you were to walk in and open all the windows, they would go, because that's what it's like when you're exposed to the world and your whole life has been operating in the shadows. A vampire, a true vampire, we would all like to say, oh, I know someone. I know a vampire. One true vampire can take down an entire school, can take down an entire facility, can take down an entire business. They're that powerful, okay? So we all know people who have that darkness, they still might be the bard. One of these truly can happen, it can happen to, and you will never know they live in your basement. Suddenly everything will collapse and you'll see them smile and you'll be like, hey, you're a vampire. We've had some come through, and it's like everybody just gets brainwashed by their potency. And then when you finally are able to rid the house, when you finally call Van Helsing in to purge the vampire, suddenly the house is brighter and lighter. And everybody's like, I had no idea. I was so caught up in that. It's because they made you a minion.
Can you give us an example maybe of a great vampire in history, or even present or past?
I feel like if I understand it well, it would be like a cult.
Yes,
Guy-
a cult leader would be a perfect example of that.
Okay.
And when we've had kids in there with that much charisma in the darkness, right? And all this stuff happens, and finally we're looking at this kid and we're like, we're not the facility for them. They need a whole nother level of intervention. Like the belief is, the psychosis is there. And so we transfer them to another facility, and suddenly everybody's like, and they're just like stumbling out to the next day like, oh my God, what was the last 2 months? And we're like, oh crap, we had a vampire. Okay, like it's cult level leadership. Okay?
So
Yes.
a lot of the bards then have vampire-like tendencies.
Very much in the same way that a warrior would have a barbarian.
You'll start to
Suck the life out of you.
Yeah.
They will run the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay? So the wizard, remember, we're talking about the smartest among us. Those of you who are wizards, I've been making fun of you all week, like, grab your little dragon now, their head's gonna explode when I write this. But the truth is that the wizards right now in our culture, the wizards are the most valuable archetype, because we're a technology culture now. All right, I look at the space shuttle, I'm like, wow, a reusable spaceship. It's the wizards among us who will be like, it can't. And they'll tell you what it can't do. Oh, look at this iWatch, look at my brand new phone. The Android's better, and here's a list of 15 reasons why. And they tell you, and you're just like, can I be happy for a moment? But the reason why is because the wizard has a picture of what perfect is, and they hold it in their brain. And the world's not meeting this picture. And it's very frustrating. Now, on the sacred path, when a wizard starts to realize that their wisdom is not of this world and they start connecting to source, they become the sorcerer. And that is one who lives from source. These are the physicists working on the God particle. Their knowledge has transcended what we do. It's literally the next level of thinking. And it's the way that they're tying science and reality and magnetism and affirmations and the difference between manifesting and manipulation, right? That they're seeing, they're thinking on the level that everything is energy. And if you can mimic the energy, energies attract, right? The like is attracted to the like, not opposites attract. That's not true. Like is attracted to like. And so If you can match a vibration of something, you can connect it. That's where they are. They're starting to understand the source. As we journey down to the profane, we have the archetype of the necromancer. The necromancer is the archetype of the dark magician, the one who has used power for the ultimate, or used the world, the life, and has even found a way to use death as a way of gaining personal power. The necromancer is what we would like to call the modern Satanist or the devil worshiper. And it's because they practice the dark art of manipulation. The dark art of manipulation. Again, go down to cult leader level here. Go down to serial killer and rapist level here. Now, just like the barbarian, the vampire, the necromancer has had a brutal past. And they keep bringing it up. They keep the past alive. And that's what a necromancer does, is they raise the dead to gain power and wisdom. In our interpretation of it, they keep that thing that happened 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. It's like it's happening now to them. And they get power from it. They use it as a weapon. All their wisdom, all their knowledge is based on it. Okay? The jester, the fool, the playful idiot, the very present and really with you, very charismatic, athletic, very attractive to all people, not just they're a man and women are attractive, but they are very attractive. They have magnetism. All right? I'm going to start on the profane side. They are what's called the puer or the puella. Puer, Puella. That's the masculine and feminine version of the eternal youth, the child who would not grow up. Peter Pan, Sleeping Beauty, the girl who would not wake up, the boy who would not grow up. And they just, we have a whole class to do just on Peter Pan and Puella alone, okay? And how they have to grow up. The only way to grow them up is through a rite of passage experience. And that's demonstrated in the cartoons. In Sleeping Beauty, it was the kiss that woke her up, right? It's a sexual initiation in a children's cartoon. In Peter Pan, he changed when he kissed Tiger Lily. That's the only girl Peter Pan kisses, not Tinkerbell, not Wendy. He kisses Tiger Lily. And his face turns red and he becomes one of the red men. Red men were the wild men, the kings of the wilderness. It's what we brought from Europe to call the Native American. They were the red man. Red man is an ancient term. And it was his initiation with Tiger Lily, and Lily is short for what name? Lilith. Who knows who Lilith is? Lilith was Adam's first wife. Eve was his second wife. Adam could not handle Lilith. And so God gave Adam a second wife. Lilith was way too powerful for him. Tiger Lily is the chief's daughter. Okay, so that whole symbolism goes on a whole nother level. Okay? So puer and puella is the profane. The sacred is the shaman. The shaman is the medicine man of Native American. Okay? That this is the one who lives very closely in tune with the earth. Their elbows and their hands and their feet are very dirty because they live in a cave or in a hut under the tree. And we go seek them for medicine, and they are the medicine of the tribe, but they don't always exist in the tribe. They exist outside the tribe boundaries. Jesters don't do well in the tribe because they're not made for the rest of the archetypes experience. These are truly the ones that are closest to divinity. Guess the symbol that represents that. Tell me about the hat of the wizard. Explain it to me. Pointed. Tell me about the hat of a witch. Explain it to me. Okay. We used to put dunce caps on kids that were not doing well in school. Why? because it's pointed, because we used to believe that conical shape would channel energy down into the head. That's why the wizards wore it. That's why the witches wore it. The jesters wear it too, but how many conical shapes are on their head? Yeah, 4 or 5. But they have bells on it, and each one's a different color, and it's hanging over, and it jingles. But that's the fool of God. That's the divine idiot. That's the one that is constantly on the venture. And truly the only place that we find divinity is being present in our lives, being present with ourselves. Remember when I was talking about the difference yesterday about being self-centered and being centered in yourself? That's the goal of the jester. They are very, very self-centered people. They think they are the center of the universe. You know what they are? All of us are. Isn't that true? Isn't that what we believe? Is that we are the manifestors and creators of our reality, and it centers around us. And if we want the universe to change, we change ourselves and our universe realigns itself. Aren't we? Isn't it all good? Isn't it all one? Isn't it all God? Isn't that so stupidly simple? It's frustrating. And you know, when we say, hey, we're all one, man, you know, that means that you're Donald Trump, right? You know, that means that you're Hillary Clinton, right?
Oh my God.
You don't get to separate. No, if we're all one, it's all of us, or it's not, and we are truly separate beings. Well, the jester likes we're all one. It's all good. Like, it's all good. Don't tell that to a woman in Darfur that it's all good, because her life is not all good. But the jester goes, there's a reason for it all, man, just because we can't see it, you know? You're like, get out of my house, all right? But they're not wrong. They're very self-absorbed because they're focused on the center. Now, when they become centered in themselves, they really truly become medicine. We have a young man in there who's very, very jester, and he's taken a vow of silence.
Yeah.
This is going to change him.
Sean is impressed about him.
This is going to change him because he's a clown.
Mm-hmm.
There was a point in time where we had said, as a facility, we are no longer taking jester kids. We were done. We had a boy come up the next day when we had set it as policy. This is how it works, right? We are done taking jesters. He showed up the next day, and during his tour, I called the cops on him because he kept threatening his mother's life.
Oh shit.
And all the way up, he had grabbed the steering wheel and tried to drive the car off the road. Cops came in. They went brutal on him. They played good cop, bad cop better than I have ever seen in my life. He had tears streaming down his face. You couldn't do nothing. He was paralyzed. And then we said, we can't take him. We are not the facility for him. 3 days later, the mother begged. He's been to the hospital twice since he left you guys and has been arrested twice. Please take him. We said, all right. And so he comes in, and for 2 months, he just wreaks havoc on the house. He is just the clown. He doesn't take anything seriously. Everything's about him. He does something, and we're like, why did you do that? I thought it'd be fun. And that's it. And and then so we go to a yoga retreat right before the Christmas break. We take the kids to an overnight yoga retreat. The first day starts, and one of the guys comes up and says, you know, some people take a vow of silence. He goes, I'm taking a vow of silence. And we're like, okay, I got $10. He's talking in 10 minutes right now. And the staff were taking bets. 4 days later, after 4 days of meditation and yoga, he spoke for the first time, and he said, I don't think, I just do. And it's caused my family pain, and it's caused you guys pain, but most of all, it's ruined my life. And all of a sudden, he becomes the healer of the tribe.
Oh my God.
He became an employee. He worked with us for 2 years. And now, like any jester, one day he was like, okay, I'm done. And now he's working at a mountain climbing shop. And he fell 80 feet while he was in Patagonia and shattered one of his legs into dust. And of course, he's going so he can start climbing again. Take a look at the jester picture in your book real quick. Take a look at that. Dancing on the side of a castle wall, like not a care in the world. Focusing on that little jester thing in his hand, that little rattle in his hand that looks just like him. That self-focus. And look at the people looking at him. There's the rich merchant, right? The man holding half the golden chain, saying, come on, give me back my watch. You're wasting my time. I've got things to do. I've got money to make. And the jester's just dancing. Look at the woman hauling the young child away from the kid. We're not wanting the kid to grow up to be like that, but look at the child's face saying, that's happiness, that's joy, that's what I want, so much that the child and the jester are standing in the same position, the X. In the Viking runes, the X shape is called gibo, which means the gift. The jester is the gift, the children are the gift. And the children can recognize a jester. That's why the absent parent who only shows up on the motorcycle is like, hey kids, we're going to Disneyland. And the next day is gone. And the kids are like, we're not going to Disneyland. And the mother's got to be like, I know. And yet the mother has to do. But the kids love that experience of gone with the wind, here today, gone tomorrow, ghosting anybody. But that's because in that moment they showed up and they were going to be with the kids and they said, you know, this isn't fun. And they went off to do something else. And while everybody else in the picture, look at the mother trying to protect the child from him. Everybody else in the picture has something they got to do. Like she's got to get the kid fed. She's got to get the kid to bed. And she's like, don't be like him. Now look at the two people laying on the ground, right? One of them is a blacksmith. That's the one wearing the apron. I know it looks like a dress. And one of them is a farmer. Both of them work with the earth element. The jester is the earth element. And look at how they're laughing. Look at how the one has been hit by one of the jester's clubs and he's bleeding, but they're both laughing so hard they're crying. That's because the jester's job is to bring people out of the day-to-day toil. Both of those are hard-working people. And they go to see the jester to feel joy again. Now, your version of this, let me answer some of the basic questions. Let's go back to the middle segment, okay? The question, which one am I? Which one is my kids? I think I'm some of this. I think I'm some of that. The answer is yes, because we have the king and queen and the healer. You are, because of your age, because of your life, every single one of you is in king-queen phase. That doesn't mean you're a queen because you're a woman or a king because you're a man. The king represents the masculine side of life management and growth, and the queen represents the feminine side of life management and growth. You're both, and your job is to balance them. Because if you just take one side and you run like a king, you miss everything that the feminine side of you is able to do. This is the creative principle. This is the destructive principle. And you have to have both. Just in the same way that the king and queen must have all of these to run a successful realm. Look in our mythology. There is not one warrior king that is successful. They will ultimately fail because they're not balanced out. We will see them as tyrants in the future. Even our number one myth of the warrior king, King Arthur, he failed. And you can't just be a wizard king. You cannot just run your realm like a wizard only. Because not all of your subjects are wizards. And if you don't understand, look, wizards have a hard time understanding bards. Wizards really struggle to understand bards. Because that level of emotion, the wizard can't grok. There's a point that emotion overtakes logic, and when that happens, the wizard shuts down. So which one are you? Well, you're all of them. You have the ability to access all of them. The truth of the matter is, and the reason why you are in the predicament that you are in, is because you've been relying on one too much. We rely on our wizard side too much. Why? Maybe it helped you survive your childhood. Okay? I was raised by a dad wizard and a mother wizard bard. I was born as a jester warrior, but I was raised by that wizard bard and that wizard to be a bard because my parents saw that me being a performer was the only way I was going to survive my childhood. Because when I would go into my warrior or jester mode, I would get medicated. I would fail classes. People would bully me because I wouldn't fit in, because I didn't want to play their reindeer games. But when I got up on stage, oh my gosh, yes. The first time I got up on stage in second grade, thunderous applause, because I was one of the reindeer. But I knew how to work a crowd because I was a jester. I could just be in the moment. All right? Growing up, I focused on just being a warrior. And a lot of it was through my barbarianism of what happened to me in the past. Being sexually assaulted, having a father who abandoned me. Bard is what I was trained to be. Jester, I was born as one. I just want to be happy. But this is the one I've had to learn. To run a company, you've got to be warrior wizard. Right? So like a king, let's talk about a single mom for a second. In her king queen phase, right? She's got 2 kids. She's on her own. She's got a job and a mortgage. And one day she wakes up and she's ready to go through the routine. One of the kids has full tilt flu. She's got full tilt flu. Other kids got tuba lesson and soccer practice and needs to get to school now. Mom still has to work. So you know what? She warriors up. She says, we just got to do it. Like, I feel like crap, but I'm going to just set it aside. You stay home. I'll be home, check on you. Here's some medicine. Okay, kid, get your tuba and soccer ball, and I'm going to go to work. And here we go. We're just keeping going. And that's what the warrior does. You shut off everything and you get the job done. And maybe your job requires you to be total wizard, like being a lawyer. That's a total wizard job. You have to analyze things all day long and find the flaw. And once you find the flaw, is that flaw benefiting us or is that flaw hurting us? Either way, it's a loophole. We got to make it. That's what doctors do. That's what engineers do, is they look at the current reality and find the flaw. It's their gift, is to find the flaw. In fact, that's what they see first, always. They see what's wrong first. And that's a horrible way to be a teenager. Imagine looking in the mirror as a teenager, as a wizard, where all you see is what you don't like. And you have a perfect vision of what it should be, and you're not achieving it. Your kids are not achieving. They should be this. I've provided this. Why aren't they this? Well, that picture is your reality, not theirs. And the bard is all about feeling. It's all about emotion and connection and experience and togetherness and creation. Well, the warrior is that, okay, we're going to do it because it's the right thing. And as a king and queen, you got to know which one to call on. There are times where you feel wizard, but you need to shut that wizard back up in its laboratory and bring out the bard so that you can talk to your son. Really talk and listen, because wizards don't know how to do that. Jesters won't. Warriors will, but then they will solve your problem. The bards will listen, and they will cry with you. And then you'll listen to music together. And you'll just be emotion. A good king and queen know which one to call. A successful realm, your business, your home, your subjects, your children, your pets. When you are truly running your realm, everything falls into place. But call the warrior at the wrong time and you burn down something you didn't mean to. So it's not that you're one or the other. And you are all primarily one, and a lot of you are two primarily. But I've been judging what you are the whole time. Just by how your jester warrior side is so much fun for people. It's passionate because 1 minute you're so playful and expressive and just fun, and the next minute you're crying and talking about how, and that is the warrior side, because you're willing to stay with the uncomfortable side. Your bard nature, where everything is about how you feel and the feeling and connection and the guilt, and it heals people, because you can feel everything, and you can feel her, and you can feel your son, and you can feel your ex, and you can feel it, and you don't even know which feelings are yours anymore. Okay, so you got to pull up your warrior and lift up that shield so that there's a boundary, and say, actually, daughter, those are your feelings, and I don't have to take them on. Okay, and it's tough, but it's what you got to do. And that warrior side of you, which every kid, every person who's gone through adoption, their warrior's like, okay, shields up, sword out. Oh, you love me? Shield up, sword out. Oh, you hate me? Shield up, sword out. It's because no one will hurt you like that ever again. And God damn it, no one will hurt your children either. You will throw yourself in front of a bus before your children feel abandoned. A warrior will sacrifice everything for the cause, including themselves. Okay, so you see, I see how your archetypes are played out, but your work is king queen. I'm going to keep rolling forward because I want you to turn to the page in your book that has the 4 boxes, okay? It's just, I think it's after, yep, right there. What page?
34.
34. Because now what we're going to do, write small in these boxes because this is a place for a lot of notes. Bottom left is warrior side. Top left is bard. Top right is wizard. Bottom right is jester. This is our comparisons. These are the quadrants. Remember, none of these are better than the other. These 4 are equal. Warriors like to think they're better. Wizards think they're smarter. Truth is, wizards are. Okay? Warriors are just like, yeah, I'm a warrior, we're the best of all 4. That's not true. You're one of the 4. One of the most amazing things I've ever, when I express to wizards this very simple thing. Wizards think in pictures. And it's the perfect picture. Wizards think in pictures. Wizards were the type of people that didn't have to show their work, but could solve the math problem. They got a bad grade because they didn't show their work. And they would say, this is what my son would say to me, because my son is a wizard with a side of wizard. Lorraine, who was up here yesterday, wizard with a side of wizard. Okay? When I would talk to my son, and he was like, I failed my math test, but it's so stupid because I got all the problems right. Now, anyone else would hear that sentence and go, all right, you failed, but you got everything right. The word teacher's an idiot. Okay, let me think about it. This 8th grader thinks his teacher, who has a master's degree in math and education, is an idiot. So my son says, here's the teacher's answers, here are my answers. And he gets all the answers right. And the teacher wrote on his page, you need to show your work. And he says, I don't understand why I have to show my work. I got all the answers right. Well, the teacher wants to see how you got it right. And my son says, why does that matter? That's how wizards think. Because he looks at the problem and sees the answer and writes the answer down. Why would he waste any more time? He solved it. He can see it. Now, when I say to you, those of you who are wizards in the room, that you think in pictures, what I have to follow that up with is, did you know that only 1/4 of the population thinks like that?
Wow.
Warriors don't think in pictures. We think in passion. There's a decision that's made, and we don't think about the consequences. We don't. I watched the movie Forks Over Knives, and I was like, I'm a vegetarian. That's it. I'm done. I'm not eating animals anymore. Right? I say that to my wife. I'm like, I'm vegetarian now. She looks at me, she's like, so I cook 2 meals, or do you expect us all to be vegetarian? I was like, oh, I didn't think of that. Right? You decide that dogs are holy beings, and so you fly to Asian countries to go raid dog farms and stuff like that, and your family is like, they haven't called in 3 days. I don't know if they're alive or dead, but you're doing what you're supposed to do. You're saving lives. They'll understand. They don't. They're terrified that you're gonna that's you say, that we need to burn that village down. The bad guys live there. So do their children. They go to school there. There's a hospital there with doctors who work on saving lives. Yeah, I didn't think about that. In fact, we use terms for that, right? What's the term? Friendly fire. What's the term when you accidentally kill the wrong people, but that's just kind of part of war? Warriors understand that. You gotta crack some eggs to make an omelet. Right? So they think. Bards feel. Warriors do. Jesters be. So Bard's decision is based on how they feel, not what they think, about how they feel. But it's very complex. So let's go back up to Bard. Bard has the complex brain. Complexity, I said this yesterday, complexity is not meant to be solved. Complexity leads to complexity. Everybody's sad because all the friends at school are fighting because there's been some big drama between these two girls and this boy. And everybody's chosen sides. And your kid is like, we were all such good friends. And the next day you're like, I'm going to go to school today. They're like, oh my God, it's so good. They had this big argument, but then they started crying and they made up. And now we're all happy. And then the next day you're like, so everybody's good. I hate her. And you're like, what? When does this end? It doesn't. It never ends. The complexity of emotion, that's why wizards can't figure it out. Because wizards don't have a complex brain. They have a complicated brain. And the difference is that complications are meant to be solved. It's meant to be compartmentalized. It's meant to be fixed and shelved. The end. Try to bring it back. We already took care of that. I thought we already talked about that. Why are we going over this again? Why are you hiding your head in your hands over there? What?
We literally had this conversation last night.
Why are we going through this
But we
again?
discussed this.
I thought we discussed this. Good one. All right, you did, but complexity says, yes, that might have been resolved, but it's brought up new feelings, or more feelings, or unresolved feelings. But we solved it. The warrior's brain deals in chaos.
We're good.
When I'm working at my desk, I have a big monitor in front of me, my little computer screen in front of me. Those two have the same picture on. On my right is a rock tumbler where I tumble crystals that I find on our property. I found one this morning, quartz. I tumble quartz. I think the quartz talks to me. All right, so I tumble it so I can hear the rocks talking. On my left, I have another big computer that I open 2 YouTube pages, one of affirmations and one of binaural beats. And I have it all going at once while I'm working. Because that's the only way my brain goes. Because when the bullets are flying, when your kids are screaming, when a child is running away, I'm home. My brain is designed to handle that. When I was an officer and we were involved in a shooting from a 3rd story of a crack house and a guy opened fire, spraying machine gun fire all over us, and I ducked behind this wall, there were 10 things happening at once, and I can still see them all to this day. The red Lincoln Continental driving away, whose plate I was able to radio in, the guy laying over by the electrical box who had thrown his crutches 3 feet and launched himself who I thought it was hit, all my officers next to me with their guns out, and it's illegal for us to have our guns out because you can't fire back into a building, and then Officer Ludi that was on the front ramp protecting a pregnant woman with his body. I had it all, and it all dialed for me. And all those times where people were saying, you're so ADHD. What ADHD is not that I can't focus. It's that I focus on everything equally. And there is a place in this society for it. And I just hadn't been discovered yet. But when I'm working with adults, and I'm gesturing the computer because a lot of people who are on are my adult students from Predicament, an event I teach. It's chaos in the room. And that's when I'm on stage like, yeah, this is what my brain feels like. And there's metal music and everybody's fighting these bands and they're screaming out the name of everybody they love. And I got staff members walking around grabbing people and throwing them to the ground. And I'm like, that's the chaos brain. And it's not that it's bad. It's just that it doesn't fit everywhere. How could that possibly fit at school? Yes.
So if you like a lot of plants, does that mean you have some warrior?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're home there, that's your warrior side. Okay? Gesture, we talked about it. They have the simple brain. They're not dumb. They're very, very nice people. They're just very, very simple. They want it simple. They need it simple because life should be simple. Be happy. There. I just simplified your life. Yeah, but I've been traumatized and I'm going through this and my father abandoned me and I was assaulted. Just be happy now, though. That happened in the past, and the past does not exist. Only now exists. But tomorrow I got to go to work and I got this project due. Worry about that tomorrow. Like, you're just like, that's not how reality works. That's not true. It does work like that. And when you're in king-queen phase and everybody, you're just looking at your kids and their heads in their hand from school and they're in kindergarten, how did they get homework in kindergarten? Because the people who decided that was a good idea, they didn't have homework in kindergarten. So why is like, and your kids are stressed and your marriage is stressed and you're looking around, you're like, we need a vacation. And you go to Disneyland and you play. And you just have fun for a day. And you don't worry about how much that hamburger just cost. And you're just like, forget it. That's your jester side. You just called up your jester side to say, we need to just be a family in a place of color and sound and have those thrilling moments where even though we know the rides are safe or they get the Jesus suit out of them, it feels like we're on the edge. And you look at that jester picture and he's balanced on the edge of the castle just like that. And everybody's like, hey, he's gonna fall. He's not gonna fall. Just trust. It's a leap of faith. You go whitewater rafting. Do you have any idea how many people die whitewater rafting? Have you ever gone whitewater? It's exhilarating because you think you're gonna die and you don't. And then that jester who's steering the raft was like, woo, that was an intense one. And 3 people just went overboard and you rescued them. And they're like, woo, next one's coming. And that's life. And they're here to guide us through that. So we like to say that these people are so frustrating and self-centered. They're not. They're just existing in pure form. And we're jealous as hell. Okay? Each one of these has what we call the blessing and the curse. And it's this one thing that we have uniquely that's the best thing that ever happened to us and the worst thing that ever happened to us. Okay? We talked about the wizard. It's called the flaw. The wizard sees the flaw in everything and they see it first. And I already said, imagine being a teenager, looking in the mirror, and the first thing your eyes go to is the flaw. You think about your family, and the first thing you think about is what's not working. You think about the future, and all you can see is how it's going to fail. That is my son's torment, that everything he's done and everything he's thinking about doing will not make his perfect picture come true. And he is such a brilliant man. A potent, powerful, brilliant man, and he is tortured by the flaw. But because he is always seeing the flaw, he is always striving for better. He never, ever accepts his second best. And he pushes himself. And when he practices the drums, he practices for days. He goes into his laboratory and he shuts the door and creates reality. And that's brilliance. And when he messes up, he fixes it. And he's on the master's path. He will practice it over and over until he has mastered it. These are the doctors who don't stop. They do something and it doesn't work, and their patients keep them up at night because they're like, what am I missing? Why can I not? And they find it. And then they tweak the meds or they fix and operate and it's fixed. You wonder why they have a God complex? That's why. Because they strive for perfection. All right? So that's the flaw. The warriors is the vow. Warriors make a vow. And in my adult students, we do the I'm done vow. All right, where they come up with that thing that still torments them in life, and they go through this exercise where they just declare doneness. And my staff does not let them off the hook until everybody can feel what doneness feels like in the bones, right? But it's the vow. I will never, I will always. They make it very young. It's something that happened in their childhood or didn't happen and should have. Being loved, being abused, something, and they make a vow, this will never happen again. And when the vow is broken, if they break their own vow, it's utter torment. They don't betray everybody, they betray the vow. And people suffered and died because of their betrayal. And it will kill them or it will make them a knight. Either way, that old self dies. And the warrior is very comfortable with death. They will sacrifice anything to do what's right. Well, and it's what they believe is right. Right? It's not what the world believes, it's what they believe is right. And that's their strength. For the bard, we talked about this, it's the gift. They give and 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 they give of themselves emotionally and physically and mentally and spiritually and financially because it's the fastest path to connection. It's why they say in the Bible, right? Faith, hope, and charity, and the greatest among these, charity, which is the ultimate sign of love. That's what Christ was saying, right? Love the prisoners, love the poor, love the wanderers, because they need it the most. And it was Christ who said, give to them, give to them, give. Charity is the chief among faith and hope, because charity is an act of love. Give what you have to someone who needs it more. And so it's the bard complex, give and give and give. And then what can you imagine a bard says at some point? What about me? But they spend all that time just giving and giving and giving. And then we get to hear your story and everybody's like, what about her? It's time she receives. And that's the hardest thing for a bard to do, is receive the applause, right? To stand up on stage and take the bow and for everybody to give all that energy right back. Do you know why? You know how hard it is? You'll actually put on makeup and costumes so it's not you that's actually receiving, it's your character. And we feel betrayed by what these bards have given us, right? When Kevin Spacey, all the stuff came out about him, and we were like, oh, what? He's the president. That can't happen, right? We find out that Mel Gibson, William Wallace, is an anti-Semite jerk, and we were betrayed by that. These are people, folks. These are human beings. Just because what you read in People magazine you like doesn't mean that's who they are, right? It's the Facebook, it's the profile. Bow, gift, flaw, and the jester is timing. When the jester does it right, when they time it right, the whole tribe heals. When they do it wrong, they get beheaded by the king. Right? The queen has them sentenced or banned from the kingdom. And it tortures them.
There's a lot of pressure.
It's a ton of pressure to do it right, to be free and happy at the right time. Aren't we supposed to? Or to set your mother free by doing something just expressive and brilliant and divine. But you did it at the wrong time. Okay. This is where we take a deep breath and say, what questions do you have?
Oh, okay, like, say what?
What questions do you guys have?
About Haley, just
Yeah.
real quick, because and Brayden, I'm trying to figure this out. For her, like, she's been here 6 weeks.
Yep.
She's still not. I think the connection she has to the people and the Wicca now,
Yeah.
but she's still fighting it.
Yeah.
She wants
So
me
listen to the words you just said.
Yes.
Connection and fighting. Which one of those two?
warrior and bard.
Yeah. And that's when I saw her, I was like, that's me. That's a little version of me, warrior bard. Because my whole life is now, I am the warrior bard king queen. Like, I have to use my wizard. I use my jester every time I travel. But my primary forces are warrior and bard. I fight for what I believe in and I connect with people.
Can she, because I feel like she's fighting still because of the
Yes.
oppositional defiance.
No, she's fighting because of what happened to her.
Mm-hmm.
That's why she's fighting. Because there's a vow in there. Somewhere in there, she's like, this can't happen again. This can't happen to anybody else.
So when she's in here and she's I feel like that's what she would have been doing, was fighting for, because she's resilient.
But
she's
it's also
strong.
what you modeled for her.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you.
That's you're a warrior bard.
I think though that and this is my feeling, not
Yeah.
hers. I feel like I'm like, why can't you like fight for yourself and want to be here and immerse yourself.
Sounds like the same question we've been asking you.
Oh shoot.
Right? I mean, she's learning from the queen. She is the princess of this realm that you are trying to put together for her. And you have, I think the energies you are using to recreate your realm right now are exactly what you should be using. Like you're in the fight of your life. This is not what you call your jester. Like you want your jester, you want to just be with your children. You are full tilt. You are the queen of swords right now. And you have to be that. Now, what's going to help you and your children heal is your bard side, your connection side, really feeling. But remember those boundaries, those psychic boundaries, okay? Shield up. And I know having a shield up in front of your kid feels terrible, but you cannot take on what she's feeling and win the battle you are in. You can fight for her. That's what warriors do. Very rarely do warriors fight for themselves. Very, very, very rarely. They fight for someone they love so much they would die for them.
Yes.
Okay, so do that. And you cannot bring her with you into this battle because she's got one of her own, right? And so if you drag her with you, she could get cut. She needs to go face her own dragons. It's time for you to walk into the cave by yourself. Shield up, sword out, focus. Keep saying her name. What's your son's name?
Braden.
Keep saying their names over and over and over. That's why. That's your why. But what you do, how you win, you're not going to find the answer in them.
Right.
Right.
Totally agree.
Okay.
Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you.
So I was pretty strong on the jester when I was a kid, and I
Yes.
got in a lot of trouble.
We gestures, there's no place for them in this
Yeah.
world.
And when I would try to pull my friends into that, like we wouldn't get our groups that would stand, they would hate me and they'd come at me.
Yeah.
Or they might off the project for this way to hear about it a little bit. So I kind of like, I'm a boss, so I think I have a tendency to want to make it fun with my group. I have to be a little careful with that, and I'd love to be able to like figure out a way to flip that to the sacred, as opposed to creating, sacred chaos when
Yeah.
I'm having
So-
fun with my peeps.
So the way the shaman heals the whole tribe at once is by creating ritual and ceremony for them. Okay, now what that looks like working for the county, say, where everything is very bureaucratic red tape, is the pizza party, is the costume
Yeah, they
pizza
love it when
party.
we have a group.
Yeah, and you're gonna be the
Everyone's
one.
happy at the end of the day.
Yes.
They love me as a boss when we do that.
That's right. That's right. Because the shaman does not bring the tribe to the cave. The shaman leaves the cave to go to the tribe and tells the stories and throws the bones and shakes the rattles and dances, and the whole tribe watches, and they're healed through the shaman's magic. All right. Now the tribe one at a time will come see the shaman and say, "This hurts. I'm broken. I'm broken. I'm broken." Okay, especially in your work.
That totally makes sense to me, because I'm kind of gonna be like, you gotta take care of you because you're the only one that will ever be.
Yes.
And I'll celebrate that with you.
So your job as the boss, as the shaman boss, is to find what's called your rattle. That thing that you do that they come to you for healing for. And it's just a little and I tell a meditation with the kids when I teach them to find their spirit animal, that the shaman walks around all the youth in the tribe and no, no, yes. And that person was chosen to go on their rite of passage, their vision quest. And it's that rattle that's told the shaman that they're ready. So what's your rattle? When they come to you and you do that magic thing and they go, "She's magical." And then you do the party and she's fun. And the rest of the time you've gotta be the bard and play the part. You gotta play the part of the boss. I'll play the part of the Kung Fu master. I've been studying Kung Fu for 40 years. I have a master's level, but I'm not a Kung Fu master, but my adult students consider me one. So when I go up on stage, I play the part of one. But really what I am is I'm a warrior ready to die for what I believe, which is innocence. I'm here to protect innocence. And my realm, this whole kingdom, is where the innocent may come and feel protected. That's it, all right? So you just have to find those parts and use the imagery of these things, all right? The druid learns how to play the harp and sing the songs that heal or tell the stories. Find the stories of the past that will heal you, help your kids heal it, okay? Other questions about this? Yes?
Well, just in terms of the wizard and how to just get past the thinking brain that always wants to solve and
Yes.
solve, and then just, it's funny that you said that, like, even in a meeting at work, it's like, yeah, we've already discussed this. Let's move on to the next one. Anyway, I see myself really predominantly there, but, you know, but having a lot of rumination, is that necromancy? Is that what you would say is that rumination?
Okay, I'll tell you, the sickness of necromancy would be that you won't be able to get over what your son has done. But if you
And
can,
replaying all those images and.
yes,
Yeah. 'cause
but not
they
just
match up
replaying
with the
them.
pictures.
Not just replaying them,
Yeah.
but using them for power. Remember, necromancy is a dark, dark path. Okay, you are usually, necromancers manipulate their environment. Wizards negotiate their environment. Your wizard kids are in a state of negotiation, not manipulation. True manipulation is crisis, remember? And it's so bad that they do not feel safe anywhere, so they manipulate everywhere. So it's a power grab. So your wizard thing of where you're replaying it and analyzing it, that's not necromancy.
Okay.
Using that as a way to keep your son weak and yourself strong, that's necromancy. It's a sickness. It's an illness.
Sucking.
Yeah, it's a deviousness. Yes?
So am I right to think there's a bit of healing that goes on that you can learn to accept the different parts of yourself and all those kind of.
Think of the young child from the story,
Mhm.
where the thing that hurt him most was the thing that set him free, right? The wound becomes the way, the pain becomes the path, the tears become the trail.
With the balancing act.
Yeah.
Of accepting all parts of yourself.
Yes. And then you accepting all parts of your child self. If you've got a jester child to truly, and that's what I was working on, the parents who aren't here today who will be watching this, is that, you know, the punishment was to take things away. And it didn't seem to work because the simpler they made his life, the more. So what if they started simple and said, we realize that simplicity is actually your freedom. So what do you not want in your room anymore? You know, let's take it out. Let's get rid of it. Let's go look at empty vans to see if that's what you want to graduate high school and move into a van and go on an adventure. And when I said that, Mom's hands were like, oh my
I was
God.
looking over, she's
Right.
right here.
Right? She was just like, oh my God. But while that would be hard for her because her wizard brain can't picture that, because she can't picture herself happy, one of wizards' flaws is they think everybody should think like them because they're so damn smart. They're not wrong, but that's not how the world works. And that's what frustrates them. Why don't you understand the things the way I understand them? Because I understand them the right way. That's what a wizard is saying on the inside. Some of them say it out loud, but tends to be my wife. No, I didn't say that. No, but if their graduation present to him was an empty van with a futon in the back, you think he would try to graduate high school then? And they said, we're going to give you a full tank of gas and a gas card, a futon in the back of an empty van. And all he will feel is that he's moving closer to freedom. And he doesn't know which way the wind will blow or whether he'll get arrested or meet the love of his life or work this season at a ski area on the lift living in his van and have stories to tell about how cold he was. And everybody's like, how could you do that? Because it was simple. That's why. And because in those moments, with or without someone, they were existing. And they were happy. And that's all that mattered. Because the moment it's not fun anymore, they won't do it. Mm-hmm. Other questions? This whole process is about the path of acceptance. The idea and the whole Fire Mountain, the whole company, was founded on a quote that I saw right at the beginning of all of this. And it was at Naropa University on one of their brochures. And I don't know who said it, and it said anonymous under it. But it said, it's not about being better. It's about giving up the struggle to be different from who you are. My success, happiness, freedom, and joy has come from embracing the totality of me. Flaws and everything. I see children realize when you embrace them, right? Look at what's happened in just a couple days where this thing that could have driven you and your daughter apart has suddenly brought you back together. That the desire to not share because you're afraid it will hurt them, and all of a sudden she reads your cards and your life is splayed out in front of her, has brought you two closer. That's the way the bard works. Okay, and she's very bard warrior, just like mama. Queen mama is bard warrior. Embrace it, okay? That's the piece that's taking place. Know that if you're an entrepreneur, this is existing within you, this warrior wizard. Entrepreneurs live here. These people sell things on consignment. These people will start businesses, and when marijuana became legalized in Colorado, there were all of a sudden 400 dispensaries opened up, and then tax time came around, and 375 of them shut down. Like it was nuts because they were like, yeah, we can make money selling weed. Taxes, never mind. That's not fun, right? But these two have something to sell, right? We watch these people on TV all the time throwing balls at and to each other for trophies, and they sacrifice their whole bodies. If they didn't exist, you might as well shut off the radio, podcasts, movies, put your books down, because they're responsible for all of that. And anytime you call, so you can always tell when someone's a true bard, because when you call them a bard, they go, Aaron, everybody's telling me I'm a bard. Why? They're the only ones who get their feelings hurt by being called what they are.
I can see myself there.
We approach life, and this is the last one I want to do, and then we have to go through our graduation ceremony. When I created the camps, the warrior camp, the wizard camp, the jester camp, and the bard camp, to this day, people still sign up for the warrior camp. And we'll have 50 to 80 kids every summer. And it's amazing. The first and last time I did jester camp, 25 kids showed up. And for 4 days, we laughed so hard. It was 4 days of laughter yoga. And at the end, when the parents came back, the kids impromptu, we were like, because I literally walked in and I said, we got 4 days, what do you guys want to do? And they were like, well, what are we doing? And I said, whatever you want. And they were like, oh, and they created 4 days of joy. It was in children. And the adults just said, let's go that way, let's go that way. And on the end, we said, okay, the parents are coming in today, what do you guys want to do? Let's put on a big Saturday Night Live skit show for them. 2 hours and 45 minutes that show lasted. Everybody was laughing so hard, and the show ended with them all putting a pie in each other's face. And that was their graduation. Never did the camp again. It was chaos. I created a bard camp, big empty warehouse room, paper and sheets on the floors and walls, a stage with a karaoke machine and a camera over here, books and journals over here, paints over there, nothing over there. And they could just do whatever. No one signed up. Not one person.
What?
So I never tried again. Wizard camp. Oh, we were going to reinvent things. I brought in physicists and I had made arrangements with these engineers, and no one signed up. No one signed up. And I realized that that's how all of this started, was me saying, they say no first because they don't know what it's going to look like. They say no first because they don't know what it's going to feel like. They say yes because they're up for the adventure, and they're going to say yes before you finish your sentence because it's something new. So what I saw was that this was a fire, aim experience. That the warrior, and you can see in the picture of the warrior, there are arrows all over the ground, 2 in the target and 1 in the bullseye, because they just start shooting. And they figure it out as they go. They just fire. Okay, aim, fire. I missed. Aim, fire. I missed. Aim, fire. And the jester just goes fire, 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 fire. If you gave a jester an automatic gun, they would grab it and they would go, yeah. Yeah, that's so cool. And you're like, dude, those bullets have to come down. And they're like, oh shit, run. And it's so exciting, life and death. The bard does this. I'm gonna write it, then I'm gonna act it. It's ready, ready, ready. Now here's the bard. You give the bard the same gun. And they go, oh my gosh, I've never fired this before. Okay, I'm gonna do this. You ready? Okay. Oh my God, okay. All right, here we go. Hey, Dad, watch. Dad, watch me. I'm doing this. Dad, watch. Okay, ready? Okay, here I go. How do I hold it? I've never held it before. Okay, I got it. Does it hurt? Is it gonna like hurt my shoulder? I wanna do that. Okay, oh my God. Okay, just stop laughing at me. I'm gonna do that. Okay, here I go. Ready? Are you? Okay. All right, and then here's the wizard.
Aim.
Aim, 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 fire. But when they fire, it's one shot, one kill. And it will be a bullseye. Or something's wrong with the gun. It's not them. But if you think about it like a sniper, that's a combat engineer. That's not a warrior. That's not a fighter. A sniper is the world's record for the longest headshot was over 3 miles. He could not see the person in his scope. And he got a headshot. It's a Canadian sniper. Happened 2 years ago. That means that was a mathematical situation. And he got a headshot. One shot, one kill.
Amazing.
That's the difference. Okay? Yeah, you were gonna say something.
Jesters also can tolerate a lot of chaos. I'm guessing.
Oh yeah, but until it's not fun anymore.
Uh-huh.
Because if the chaos switches, like I remember we had this one kid and he's swimming in the swimming pool, he's swimming and he's having so much fun, and all the kids were. We had been to hot springs and we had gone to a wolf sanctuary and we were on our way back. We stopped. Oh, this was at a big hot springs in southern Colorado. And he's having so much fun. He decides he's going to do laps. He's going back and forth and back and forth. And he misjudges the length of the pool, hits his head on the wall. And he gets up and he looks, he's like, and he looks at Chris and I and go, we have to go home. And we're like, why? He goes, I hit my head. We're like, there's 12 of us here. Like, a home is 8 hours away. It's like, this sucks. And he gets out of the pool and he was done. But before then, jumping off and slides and everything was all fun because he was having fun. Oh, at one point he jumped on another kid and hurt him, but he was having fun. At the moment, okay, we're done. What? So yeah, they can handle chaos as long as it's fun chaos.
So then, what do you do? Because part of me feels that was earlier in the week. Like TJ is having a ball with his little brother.
Yeah.
Right? And they are
Until they don't.
And well, they're on the tramp, they're doing all these things. He's giving them wedgies because that's fun. Why don't the big brothers do?
Yes.
And then brother breaks this bracelet.
Oh boy, now it's not fun.
Oh my gosh, that's like, how do you not know that this is so emotional for me?
Right.
All of this, and TJ is pissed, done, close the door, leave me alone.
Yeah, so part of the experience, part of this experience is that as adults, we realize that we can't change them. They have to change themselves. TJ's life process is going to be that he calls upon his warrior or he calls upon his bard and says, that's okay, I know you didn't mean to. It meant a lot to me, so I'm gonna go into my room right now and cry this out, but that's okay. I know you're sad. I can feel that you're sad. But you can't ever force one into the other. It's a slow training process. It starts with an introduction to the jesters that other people actually exist and their lives are affected because of you. And guess what happens to a jester when you tell them that? They shut down because that's not fun. Because they might have to consider what they've actually done to others. That's not fun. So you gotta wait until they're in warrior mode. Because a warrior will apologize. A bard will apologize. How many times did you apologize yesterday?
Oh, just didn't.
Wizards do not apologize. They're so freaking frustrating. Because they're like, okay, I'm sorry that you think I need to apologize. Like, what, is that good enough? I'm sorry that you made me mad. Like, whatever. Warriors apologize. Because you can take a warrior and say, hey, thanks for doing that, but look at what you broke. And they'll be like, and they'll go fix it. Warriors will do right. Jesters won't apologize. That's way too much pain. So you just have to catch him in another space to introduce him to that. And remember, we do these things as kids because it helps us survive our environment. We pick which one is going to keep us alive. Maybe two. I was this, but this kept me alive. This kept me with friends. This gave me a tribe. This made me feel loved. Down here, I'd have burned the world. And I was trying to. I was trying to kill everybody in my path because somebody hurt me. Somebody hurt me bad. But here, beautiful. Well done, Aaron. Oh, can I have your, oh, that was so well. I had friends. I'm still working on this one. This is my daytimer. This is what keeps me in my wizard, planning. And obviously, Fire Mountain is set up that your kids come in here and go through them all. Each phase is built with the therapist to practice different strengths. Because that's what we need. That's what we have to do as adults. So for you to model to your son how to do that is that you travel through them. Say, I just need to be jester for a few hours. I'm going to go do a yoga class. That's very jester. Be with your body. Okay? Or I got to warrior up. Come on, kids, we got to warrior up. I know this sucks. We got to do it. We got to pack before we go on vacation. Come on, everybody, get into the car. What you need to pack is over here. I'm about to go on a trip for my daughter's graduation. We're taking them whitewater rafting on a multi-day trip. That's all here. But once we're on that river, no, it's over here. Because if I try to fight the river, you'll lose. You don't win the river. It's in the same way you don't win the mountain. You become. Okay? We have a very short amount of time to do our very last bit, and then you get to go be with Avani. Okay? So I'm going to say goodbye to Facebook Live, and what we need to do very quickly is just move the tables off and stand in the center. Bye, you guys. Thank you. This will be available on YouTube.
So Nate can walk out later.